I felt was like the year of the youth. And it was very, very incredible to see young people come together. Like when I say it was the year of the youth, it really was. And I was so proud, to see that happen because we came together to fight for our voices, to fight for our future, and to fight for the generations of people that's going to come out, come after us.
Social media can be a very beneficial tool, like especially in times like this, like especially during like the Black Lives Matter movement. I had like a lot of friends that people that I really didn't expect to be like outspoken about political issues and things like that. I saw like them using Instagram, having posts about it. Like the "We Are Black Men, We Are Black Women" trends. I feel like using social media can really bring awareness to certain situations like this. So,
Why do you think that is? We have a lot more judgment than compassion.
what I would have to say about it sucks, but to be honest, we live in a very judgmental society. Like you see somebody on the street and you're already making premeditated judgments about them, like what they've been, but you without knowing like what they've been through. It's easier to judge somebody than go into detail and listen about their past and things like that. So I just feel like because it's so easy to judge them instead of actually like listening and taking time to get to know the person, that's why people judge so much.
What do you think is, besides judgment, is a big thing that prevents people from actually coming forth and speaking up?
I think, if I'm coming to you and I'm really pouring my heart out to you, I'm not hoping that you're going to tell the next person. So if I'm going to church to maybe talk to my pastor or like talk to someone that I consider a role model or someone that I can learn from, like I want whatever I'm saying to stay with you. I want to be confident that I can walk up to you and tell you whatever the situation is, and maybe you could advise me, or maybe you could just provide me a listening ear because I just want to rant about whatever the situation is.
With you a little bit, Edema.
Okay.
I just want to shake some tables. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
The right things, just so we're appear to be awesome people. By the way, we are awesome people. Before I get into that, Edema, who's your favorite?
Here we go.
We're gonna have that conversation
Answer
here.
correctly. You know how you tell a husband, be cautious of the things that he says to the wife. So answer correctly.
I mean, we can have that conversation on here. I think every sibling of mine is different, and then they play a different role in my life. There are things that I'll probably go to Ukeme for. There are things that I'm going to go to Edidium for, who is our eldest sister. There's some things I'll go to my eldest brother for, whatever the situation is. But I don't think I can tell you I have
You know what? Don't worry about it. That wasn't even my main question. I was just trying to get this thing started. Look, by the way, she should run for something. She sounds politically correct. So yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah. So, okay, so back to the topic. You see, okay, man, when you texted me about the theme, or we had a conversation about the theme, and you said, "Hey, what do you think about this? Silence is golden." I had splitting how do I put it, like convictions, like on one part okay, on the other part no. So here's why I say I differ a little bit from Edema. My personality, I'm a sanguine and a little bit of a choleric in some areas, and we talk a lot. We like to talk. I mean, I might not look like it, but I talk a lot. Like I can talk your ears off. But the thing is, as I get older and mature, I talk less. And the reason is this. I have come to understand that we as human beings, as we evolve in life, especially when we embrace cultures and traditions and mix with every other with people all over the world. We tend to pick stuff that we think works for us or helps us to sleep well at night and ignore the not so comfortable things, regardless of if it's a good idea or not. This is what I mean by that. So when someone does something wrong and you say, hey, why are you doing this? They say, oh, don't judge me. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There is a fine line between a constructive criticism and a destructive criticism. Does that make sense? Like
course.
you can't. So people randomly. It became a trend. Like it became trendy. I beg your pardon. Like it became so fashionable to say, "Oh, don't judge me." Or don't people post stuff and say, "Oh, don't judge me. I'm not gonna meet me at my standard. I will not tolerate rubbish." And stuff. And these people saying these things, really, let's really look at it. A lot of them are proud. A lot of them have bad character. They are rude, unruly. The list goes on and on. So the point I'm trying to make is that it depends on the context
Mhm.
that you're using. I mean, that we're addressing really. And talking about maybe misdemeanor, rape and all those things, it's good to speak out, regardless if they believe you or not. Just
Mhm.
say it, okay? But when it comes to behavior patterns and all of that stuff. Silence indeed is golden. Trust me, it's not just some proverbial saying, right? It's real life. Like
Mhm.
there are things you don't have to respond to. I don't know how many of you. Well, I know Wale understands pidgin English, but so I'm going to say it in pidgin. They say, "I no agree, I no agree." 90 take lot. What that means, Edima and Asha, I'm so sorry. You don't look like you've ever left America. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's okay to not react. It's okay to not say anything because in your silence comes the deafening sound of your response. Even though you haven't said anything, you're saying a lot. When you start to exchange words and go back and forth, actually it belittles you. It brings you to a point that you don't even want to be at in the first place.
Mhm.
So I think we should, while we are saying these things, we should really weigh them and choose the context that we intend to use them. So that's why somehow I differ from her, but I also agree with Adima.
Good. Wale, do you think culture plays a part in our silence?
Yes, I do think so. So, I mean, like we already know, I come from the African culture, Nigerian culture to be precise, and a lot of times I have witnessed like husbands beating their wives and doing different things like that, and then the family members will say, "Oh, you should remain in your husband's house." It is not nice if you leave, and people they will mock you. They will say this about you. So that's one way culture can actually, keep you bound in a place where you should actually break out of. Uh, but yeah, that's what I think of right now. But interesting enough, I was actually going to speak a little bit to what Frankie was saying. The reason is because I want to toe his line of thoughts a little bit because it makes so much sense. There are times when it's actually golden to be silent. Because
Mhm.
like, and I've experienced this firsthand with my wife. Because there are times when we're talking about something, we have like opposing views on something, and then I'm trying to be right, and she's like, she doesn't have a response at that point in time because she knows I will still try to maybe prove my point. But one thing I've learned from man, that's making me a better person is I'm learning to be silent in like exchange of words and when you guys are talking and you don't agree about things. Not because I need to be right, but because it gives me the room to process my thoughts.
Mhm.
People are different. Some people are like very good with words. They can say everything instantaneously, that kind of thing. And it to make a lot of sense. Some people need a lot more time to think about what they want to say and say it a lot better so it doesn't hurt or harm anybody's feelings. So I really agree with Frankie on that. And another thing I think I'd like to say as relates to that is uh, he mentioned something about people. always having this mentality that you should not judge me, like
Right.
me for you to judge me, that kind of thing. But personally, I think we can make an attest to this. I've started operating in the realms of, if I'm your friend, I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times as people we want to hear good things about us, that kind of thing. We always want to hear great things, sweet smelling things that have like very dignifying words about us, but there are things that would actually make us better
Mm-hmm.
when we actually hear and we have friends that tell us, oh, this is what you did, I think you could have done it better. Now it's more like accountability, because it makes you a better person. We are all still
Mm-hmm.
to who we need to be and who we can be. And there are things that we might have done in the past that we could do better. And, it's an evolving trend. So the fact that I make a mistake today doesn't mean I'll make the same mistake tomorrow. But
Right.
if I have someone who can come into order and tell me, hey, you made this mistake, it's not the end of life. Let's evolve. Let's put ourselves together and, let's hold each other accountable. Don't do this again. You've learned this from this and that. So thank you for that wonderful point, Frankie. I just thought to throw that line a little bit. So thank you.
I think you make a very interesting point, at least you and Frankie, with regards to don't judge me. I think it depends on, the situation, or there's just some things that are plain wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not like make it sound beautiful. There's just some things that are plain wrong. Like, I mean, if you do some certain things, I should be able to tell you, just like you said, as my friend, oh, that's wrong. Like, there's nothing like, don't judge me. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you, oh, this is what you did. And I don't think it's right. I expect the same thing from my friends as well. Like, if I mess up or do something and they're like, Dima, I mean, you tell me with love. I mean, you're not going to go crazy when you're telling me. But there's some things that I wouldn't like. The first thing that would come to my mind, that would not come to my mind, is don't judge me there, because there's some things that you should be held accountable for. But there's some people that also excuse their behavior when they say don't judge me. I feel like they try to sweep it under the carpet like it means nothing. And then that's where you're gonna actually sit down to have that conversation with whoever it is. But then it also depends. Like, I feel like I have to be like, have a certain level of friendship with you to be able to have these conversations with you, because if we're not on the same sphere of friendship, it becomes really hard for me to know how to address it with you, how to bring it to you without you feeling like I'm actually judging you.
Okay, I'm liking it. Ashley, do you have anything you want to contribute to that?
Yeah, going off of what she said, I feel like it's always important to have somebody that can keep you in check. But sorry, I think I lost connection there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You just
Okay.
frozen.
So, I feel like it's always important to have somebody that can keep you in check, like a
Mm-hmm.
friend or a mentor or something like that. Someone that you have a strong relationship with, that y'all can feed off energy and grow together. And you could tell them what they're doing is wrong. They can tell you what you're doing is wrong, and also what you're doing is right, and vice versa, right? So, if you have that, you should always try and have that in order to grow. That's my 2 cents on the situation.
How can we help do our part in being more compassionate for someone who is going through something but is unable to speak up? I mean, how can we be better people for them? Anyone can answer.
Uh, First thing, I feel like you should try and like build a relationship with them at first, gain their trust. It's
Mm-hmm.
someone that's like introverted. They're obviously not going to tell any and everyone their personal business. So you gotta basically convince them that, hey, I'm here for you. Whatever you say is going to only be between you and me. So once you establish a connection like that, then I feel like they would be willing to open up to you on a deeper level, and you could be more compassionate towards them.
Yeah. So, may I?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, just to add to what you said right now, Asher, empathic listening is encouraged, because some people just listen. Some people hear you, but they're not really listening. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're
Mm-hmm.
listening but not really hearing you. So I think it's key to show some empathy when you're listening to someone, because just then you would be able to walk in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. And again, I can't overemphasize how important this conversation is. I really hope a lot of people get to see this, because this is the conversation. Now people are listening and we're listening, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking. A lot of people, including myself when I was much younger, want to talk. Sometimes not because I need you to give me an advice. I just want to talk for someone to listen. Okay. And because sometimes in talking, it's synonymous to prayer. You are talking, but you're getting the answer right back. Like you're saying some things, the way it rolls off your tongue, some don't
It's
make sense. You're like,
therapy.
oh, I
You know, why
shouldn't
you
say
go and
this.
lie down on the couch with the therapist and they're just letting you talk, but they're not really saying anything. So you're answering your questions and everything. So yeah.
Exactly. You see, except that, you don't have to pay the person. Well, in this case. So it's really important to develop empathic listening, like
Mm,
really show care and hear the person, really hear them speak, regardless of what your ideologies are or what your belief system could be at that point, whether you approve or disapprove of whatever they're doing. Just listen, just hear
mhm.
them out. Then just then you would know whether to chime in or say something or not. Just listening is very, very key.
I agree. I'm just going to go back on something Ashes said earlier when we're talking about judgment. He said it is in his human nature, like, so it's in our human nature to judge. So we don't have to be people of faith to be able to have compassion towards one another. So, how can we, despite our judgmental human state, be more compassionate towards another person? Wally, I'll pose that question to you.
Thank you for that wonderful question. I think, just like you were saying, in our human nature, we are very judgmental. And I think a way to be very compassionate towards others is to be intentional. It's just like you are trying to break a habit. When you're trying to do something, what you do is you keep doing it and you keep telling yourself, "Oh, I can do this." So, for example, while I was much younger, I used to have the habit of being very self-centered. Like I didn't want to share anything with anybody. I wanted to just be all self-sufficient, do everything by myself. But I learned the need to share at a very crucial point in my life when I was almost self-destructing. And the reason I say this is because intentionality will take you far. Like
Mm,
it's about just saying, I want to do this. And it's more about being disciplined enough to actually do what you say you want to do. Write it down, place it in a place where you can see it. I want to be a lot more caring towards people, uh,
mhm,
towards this person. And what that does for you is makes you a better person. And another thing I think you can do is you can self-reflect. Because I think a lot of us, everything I say here is pretty much from my personal experience. So please just to throw that out there. So I think there was a point in my life when I listened to respond, not to just to not because I'm trying to understand what the person is saying, and
mhm,
as harmed a lot of relationships. So when and this is in addition to what Asher and Frankie were saying, when you are listening to someone, don't listen because you want to respond, but listen to understand where they're coming from. Try to understand the emotions backed up in all they are saying, because that is the only time you can actually feel their pain. And
mhm.
uh, sometimes it's hard to feel people's pain, especially if you haven't gone through that thing firsthand. But it's more of a thing of, just putting yourself in their shoes. How would you react? Just the same way you were saying. When people do stuff to you, you just think about their perspective. Why would they have done this thing? Why did they do this thing? Or why could they have said what they said? So it's kind of like very similar. So yeah, that's it.
Um, I'm very glad that we're all having these conversations. However little the timing we have, just starting the conversation and hoping and praying that other people will see it and like, okay, you know what, let me be intentional about my life, my future, because at the end of the day, our happiness is what matters. Our growth and our advancement is very important, because I wouldn't want to see myself 5 years from now fighting the same battles uh, that has kept me in such a dark state, and I'm trying to come out of it, but I'm so scared because I can't go talk to this person, because I'm scared if I tell A is going to tell B is going to tell C is going to tell D, then I will become someone that everybody just begins to run away from. I'm like pointing fingers like, oh, look at her, look at this, look at that. And it's something that we do a lot of in our society. And whether it could be in the church or anywhere else, it goes beyond. And it's just something that we need to be intentional about, being kind to others. And I was watching the talk show where they talked about the cancel culture, and there was something that they said, when people say how are you, it's very easy. Oh, I'm fine. I'll just keep it moving. But because I talk with Wale all the time, and there's something he always says to me, how is your heart? And that poses a much more deeper question. And like, I want to get to know what is going on within you. How can I help? What are you struggling with? What are you fighting with? Like, it just gives you a minute of pause. Like, how's my heart? How's my heart? And every time you ask me that question, I start looking for, I start self-reflecting. Okay, what am I going through right now? Okay, what can I tell him? How can I get the help that I need? And it kind of gives a different meaning to when people just say, oh, how are you? Like, now I want to say, how's your heart? Because that sounds more loving, that sounds more caring, more compassionate, more kind. And we need a lot of that in our world today. So, how's your heart? How's your heart?
I can't, I just can't help myself, but I'm amazed. Like, I have never ever heard that before. How's your heart? Wally, how come you never asked me how my heart is? And
So this didn't come from me actually. This came from my wife, Shade. So one day she just asked me, "How was your heart?" I
yeah, you asked me.
stumbled through words for 5 minutes. I didn't know what to say.
Exactly. Like, I'm
I
stunned.
didn't like it
That was the
was.
same thing that happened when he
How's
said
my
that to
heart?
me. I was like, what are you talking about? How's
Man,
my heart
my
is
heart.
right here.
Yeah.
But it was
Yo,
deeper than that.
Yeah.
It really
And
was.
the interesting thing about that, what I learned from just self-reflecting, just like Okema was saying, it helps you self-reflect, is that just connecting this thing we're saying now with the question you asked earlier is honestly, to be very candid, you can't give what you don't have. So the part of compassion to other people, if you're not in tune with your emotions, you can't be compassionate for other people. If you're someone who something happens to you, you brush it off, you shrug it off, and keep moving. You don't tackle that issue. It keeps piling. You act like you're tough. Then you expect them to tough it out and be like, oh, people don't always operate that way, So I feel like we need to be in tune with our emotions when we go through things. Let's be broken enough to admit this is what I'm going through. This is how I am feeling, and this I need help. I think I shared the story with you. A friend of mine who got divorced not too long ago, and I told you about how Ukeme, I told you this story about how he and his ex-wife are good friends. They didn't necessarily work as a couple, a lot of back and forth, but they had to work things out as friends for the sake of their two children, their kids. So I'm saying this because at the point in time when it first happened, it was toughening it out. It was going out with his friends, just acting like nothing happened. But the moment he became in tune with his emotions, and I shared 1 or 2 personal experiences with him, he told me, "Hey, you might need a therapist. These are things you shouldn't keep to yourself. Talk to someone. Get the help you need. Don't die in silence." And the truth of the matter is, whoever you choose to talk to will talk to their level of understanding. I think I told you. I said something. Me and Nicole, we talk a lot. We have, in our heart-to-heart conversations. And I'm telling her is one thing I've learned from my mentors through the years is when you're going through something, always read books that have or that talks about that particular thing. Because if you talk to Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, up to Z, they will tell you different things, of course, but it's up to their measure of understanding. But there are some renowned authors who have, done some innate research. They have reflected enough. They have put some wonderful words together that can get to you. So personally, there's some books I've read that's changed my life forever. And I feel like I'm never going back. So I just want to put that to everybody, like, hey, if you're going through something, get the help you need. Read books that talks about that particular thing. Get insights. Because insights are things that can be blocked from you if your mind is clouded. But people whose heart have been, purified enough to see clearly the big picture of what you're going through can, educate you on how you feel, why you're feeling the way you feel, and how you can get around how you feel based off the experience. So I think that's what I have to contribute to this.
I think you make a very interesting point, Wale. I
Sure.
think society has created a certain image in our minds where we should get used to masking how we truly feel, just so we can appear strong, just so we can appear, oh my God, I have this all together. A lot of people do not encourage, like, breaking down, like, oh my God, like I'm going through this. Like a lot of people just do not permit that. And it just makes you think, like, who is really going to listen to me? Like, do I really want to let my guard down? Because even as a guy, I mean, as a lady, if you're crying about something, that would be deemed normal. But guys, is that opportunity available for you to actually bring out who you truly are and really explain how you feel without the fear of, oh, I'm supposed to be a guy, I'm supposed to mask it all? But that's the very unfortunate reality of a lot of things. You're expected to mask it, you're expected to appear strong, because the slightest display of vulnerability or your emotions, you're deemed weak.
I don't know how to hide my emotions, and for me, it was so important for me to speak up. Yes, there are some people that I have spoken to and it was used against me or used the wrong way, but it was so important for me to keep finding the right people, the right environment, because there's some people that you might deem as good, but they might not actually be the best person for you or even the best person to advise you on certain things. But because I wanted different from what I had and what I was seeing, so it was so important. Against the odds, I still had to keep looking for someone until I found the right people that I could talk to, I could call for help and all that. And I love my village. I love my village of people because I realize that I'm not perfect. And so we all discussed here today with our human nature. We are prone to so many things. And I like to speak with people that would help me self-reflect. Like, yeah, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done that. Okay, maybe this would have been a better way to have addressed it and all that. I like to have people around me that can hold me accountable. Because if I don't have accountability, I'm just going to keep going through life like, I don't care, this and that, and that's not what we want. But I'm so excited that you all could all join me today for us to have this conversation. I know it's not enough, but rather we start than not to start at all. So hopefully, even if it's just one thing or just one word that someone gets from this, I think that's good enough for me. But before we sign out, based on everything that we've said, I would like to hear from each and every one of you, just say something to the viewers out there. So whoever who is, battling depression or some sort of issue they're going through because they're facing the stigma of, if I speak up, I'm going to lose my friends. If I don't, like some people could get into various things because they're afraid that if they don't do this, they're going to lose the people that they have around them. So what would you say to people who are going through whatever it is they're going through and they need to speak up or they need to stop hanging out with certain people so they can start thinking about their lives and, putting their happiness, their mental health first before anything else? So I'll start with you, Edima.
The people that would be there for you would always be there for you. You should never feel that if you speak up, your friends would leave you. Then they're just not your real friends, and that's just to be very honest with you. The people that will stick with you through the good and the bad times, they will be there for you. So find those people you can confide in, find those people that you can grow with, people that you can be your authentic self around. And also maybe pray to God as well. If you're a believer, I'm a believer, I always pray to God to help me with the choice of my friends. So pray to God to give you those friends, or send those people that would be there for you through thick and thin. Because to be very honest with you, in this life, you cannot be alone. You need people to be able to help you through the challenges of life. And just sometimes you just need those encouraging words or whatsoever. So, and that's why you have those gangs with you, your village, and the people that you hold dear to your heart. So try not to hold back. Find those people that you know that you can be your authentic self around, and then you should be fine.
Going off what Eduma said, there's always going to be someone that will be there that's going to be willing to listen to whatever problems that you have. You shouldn't have that fear that, oh, whatever I have, I don't want to burden them even more with my problems. No, they're there so that they can listen to you. Uh, and also, if you don't, if like you don't have not even one person, a psychologist is always another way to go. That's why psychologists make so much money in this world, because speaking about what you're going through is so important for your mental health. So if yeah, find a close friend, find a mentor, and grow.
Can't say more than everyone has actually shared already because we pretty much touched everything. But one thing I can add to it is the ultimate person to speak to is the Holy Spirit. Um, I'm trying not to get into it, but sometimes nobody can understand
Mm.
or who they are. It's just you and God. And luckily, God gave us the Spirit of God, that's the Holy Spirit in our hearts, like to go with us everywhere, anywhere you are, He's right there. So just search your Bibles and just pray and be quiet. Just have a quiet time. Most often than not, you get the answers that you're looking for.
So I think we've all said it all. And just going off of what everyone has said, Frankie actually said a lot, actually. That's, all he said. Sometimes nobody understands, speak to God, talk to the Holy Spirit, and you get guidance. But overall, God uses people. So speaking to God is one step. He would use people. So ask for a heart that would identify people you should talk to, and because I feel like as human beings, we tend to play based off precedence. If you have had a past experience where you shared something with someone and they judged you based off what you shared, you tend not to want to share with anybody. You just want to keep it to yourself. But hey, how about if think of it this way: you keeping it to yourself is setting you up so bad. So I think it's time to try a new strategy. You do not want to let go of your of a human side. You want to be in tune with your emotions and also not coast through life, but also live to the fullest of your potential. So this is
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I think you need to talk to someone. So yeah, please reach out to someone, a professional, a pastor, someone you think you can be yourself around, like Edima said, someone who would not judge you, someone who you really respect and know that they know what they are saying, not someone who will listen to you and just tell you or what fuel to the fire. So yeah, please, please reach out.
I'm glad you all said all that you said, and one of the key things I got, we most people underestimate the value of relationships with other people. We Some of us go through life thinking that we can do it on our own. We can't. People are so important and so essential in our journey in this life. I cannot tell you enough how many people God has blessed me with that have been around me and are still around me. So let's not underestimate the value of people and their existence in our lives. So like I said, I'm so thankful you all are here. Thank you for joining me. But before we sign out, I know you've all said your closing words, but it's 2021. What's the one word, your mantra for the year? Mine is to be intentional about my future. So what is yours mantra? Just one word for the year 2021.
I'm still trying to get it together. Like I have so many things in my head. Um, um, I have so many things in my head, but one thing that is sticking to me right now is do not be afraid.
Very important. Asher, what about you? One word for 2021.
Well, is a phrase okay? I was
Yeah.
just try and grow every day.
Mm,
That's my mission for this year.
very important too. Frankie, one word.
One word for me would be new levels, new heights. Because yeah, I may not be where I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not where I used to be. So I'm all about progress, spiritually, physically, mentally, just new levels, new heights.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Wale.
I think for me, it'll be every day is decision day. Don't postpone what you can decide today to tomorrow. Take your time, make the best decisions. Don't pretty much just don't ignore things. Do everything at every point in time and just be intentional. Like Ukeme said, grow, gain new heights, and always decide to be better every single day and impact people's lives. So yeah.
Hey, awesome. Thank you all so much. Well, y'all can unmute your mics now. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. And this is the first episode of the chat for 2021. Yay! Happy New Year, everyone. If I haven't said that before, Happy New Year. And I hope that this new year brings about so much growth and we become intentional about our future. And we need to speak up when necessary. There's a time to speak up, there's a time to be silent. But all in all, let's be intentional about our future, about our happiness, and we'll leave the rest to God. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.
Go on.
All right.
What an incredible discussion that was. We're responsible for our lives and choices. Granted, we cannot always foresee or prevent the things that happen to us, but we are responsible for our actions in our lives. We must learn to take actions and do the needful. And if that means speaking up until we're heard, then do. Our happiness is in our hands. And yes, silence is not always golden. Let's take back our voices together. But that being said, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all our media platforms. As always, if you would like to be a part of the show, send us an email, or you have some discussion topics you want us to discuss, let us know also. Thank you once again, and I'll see you next time on the chat. Bye now.